Hi everyone, it's Robyn from Water Moon Tarot, and I'm coming to you guys today to continue my Astrology 101 The Basics series, and we're at part 4, and I decided that the next step was to discuss birth charts. So in my previous videos I talked a lot about birth chart this and birth chart that, and I gave you guys a link at the bottom of each one of my videos to use the birth chart calculator to see where all your placements were in your birth chart. But let's just start at the beginning and just discuss what is a birth chart, and we're also going to discuss the personal planets. So basically a birth chart is a map, not a map, a portrait of the sky at the exact time of your birth. So this is unique to you and any other person on the planet that was born at literally the exact same time as you. So when people say, you know, like, what's your sign? Oh, I'm a Libra. Okay. Oh, you're a Libra? I'm a Libra, but we're so different. Yeah, because every Libra is different except for literally the ones that were born on the exact same day, on the exact same year, at the exact same time. And of course, you know, nature, nurture depends, on how you were raised and where, and different cultural, but in general, somebody that's born at the exact same time, day, as you, year, you will have very similar type personalities, extremely similar. So that's why a lot of people don't resonate with their sun sign, which we're going to discuss what sun signs are. But sun sign is basically one of the 12 signs that you were born under, the day and the month of the year. Yeah, it really is more specific than that, because there are a whole bunch of different placements, more than just the sun sign, which is the day and the month that you were born out of the year. The different planets were in all different places at the time of your birth. So we're going to explain basically the birth chart and what it is. So basically there are all of the planets in the sky that and the sky is always changing. Basically the planets are moving and changing, and the earth is moving, and there's constant change, and so nothing is staying stable all of the time. So there's always different influences and different energies coming into play, so basically the birth chart is giving you a snapshot of the sky at the exact moment of your birth. So when you go to the birth chart calculator and you get all of the planets, you're going to see that it says Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto. You're going to see where all of the planets were, and there's going to be a corresponding sign next to where the planet, where that specific planet was at the time of your birth. So basically we're going to discuss in this video the personal planets. And when I say personal planets, it's the first 5 when you check out your chart online, that are your personal planets, which are the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And we add, in addition to those personal planets, the rising sign, or ascendant. Some people call it ascendant, some people call it rising sign. It means the same thing. It's basically the planet, the sign that was rising above the technical definition is the sign that was rising just above the Western Hemisphere at the time of your birth. So you were literally being born, and this sign was rising, and they're constantly changing position in the sky. The rising sign, actually, it's about every 15 minutes that things are changing. And your rising sign, your ascendant, which you get from the time of your birth. So if you don't know your exact time of birth, you're not going to be able to get your rising sign, which is a very important part of your personal, it's not a personal planet, but it's a very important part of your personal, birth chart makeup. And your rising sign is basically so the sign that was rising in the sky at the time of your birth, and your ascendant is going to tell you your outward self. So when I mean your outward self, that is how other people see you. So it's going to be the personality. It's kind of like, they call it like the mask that you wear. So people are like, that's my outside character, and then there's my inner character. There's the person that I am at work, and then there's the person that I am at home. So that person who I am at work, that's your rising sign, and that's how other people see you and how you portray yourself to the world. And it's also how you look. They say that the rising sign will give you your physical appearance. So depending on the sign that is your rising sign, you're going to be projecting yourself in with the qualities of that particular sign. So then we go to the sun sign. The sun sign is, are you a Libra? Are you a Virgo? Are you a Scorpio? Are you a whatever? Depending on the month that you were born and the day. And the sun sign is basically your ego, yourself, your values, your belief systems. It's basically the how can I explain it? It's the innate, the molding, basically, how you've been molded to be, how you think, who you think you are. Basically, it's the id, it's your ego. So basically, when you think of your sun sign, when you read your horoscope, or you read a description of your sun sign, I'm a Scorpio, I'm born October 28th, I'm supposed to be like this or whatever. That's going to give basically the superficial, that's a good word, the superficial on the surface of who I am. So it's going to give the basic energy to who I am. It's very important. It's your sun sign. It's the first planet that's there. It's also the masculine energy in your chart. It's also it's who you are, your values and your belief systems and all of that. So your sun sign is extremely important, but all of your 5 personal planets are extremely important. I just finished my series on the moon sign. So when you check out your birth chart and you see where your moon sign is, your moon sign is going to give you information about who you are inside. So it's your emotional nature. So whereas the sun is your ego, your innate responses to things, how you believe that you are, how you see yourself, your moon is basically your emotional responses to things. So a good example of that could be, if you have your moon in a very sensitive water sign, but you have your sun, your ego, your how you view yourself in Aries, in a fire sign, in this, really masculine sign or whatever. When you're upset, your sun sign, which is, the outer you, will be enraged and mad, but on the inside, let's say your moon is in a water sign, you're really hurt. You're really hurt. And you know that, but you wouldn't necessarily portray that because you're in Aries. Your sun is in Aries, and you're tough and you're the warrior and things like that. But on the inside, you're extremely sensitive, and so that's the difference between the sun and the moon. So those are your first two personal planets in your birth chart, and the next is Mercury, and your Mercury is the way that you communicate and the way that you express yourself and the way that you think, your rational mind. Basically, it's your mind and how you communicate. So the Mercury side will basically show you how you express yourself, verbally, how you express yourself, even in, in all different forms. So to give an example of an understanding of Mercury, let's say your sun and your moon are in very expressive, signs. Let's say they're in air signs, which are always, the communicators. So your sun is in Gemini and your moon is in Aquarius, and then your Mercury, which is how you express yourself, is in Virgo. So that is going to change that feeling of your sun and your moon that's very expressive. I mean, it's not going to change it completely, but it's going to give another layer. It's always about the layer, and it's going to not take away, but change as communicative as you are, because Virgo in Mercury, the way you express yourself is very reserved and not really expressive at all. So you may say, but I'm a Gemini, I should be so expressive, I should never stop talking, I should be super friendly and this and that. And sometimes I am, but sometimes I have trouble expressing my idea or whatever it is. And that's because the Mercury is in a sign that has a harder time expressing itself. So each one of the placements in your personal planets will give another layer to your personality and change the personality. So not everybody is one thing. We're kind of like a mix of the different placements at the time of our birth. So then we come to the Venus sign, and Venus is the planet of love and the planet of beauty and the planet of very often it's how we love. It's very often who we love. It's the way that we show love. It's the things that we like to do. It's the way that we like to entertain ourselves. It's the way that it's leisure. So your Venus sign is gonna basically show you your interests a lot of the time, So let's say you have Venus in, you have, so let's say your sun and your moon is in earth signs that are very practical and very, everyday and workers and, reliable and this and that. And you have Venus in a very, let's say in like an air sign, and Venus in an air sign would be in love, more open, more less dependable, more liking in different experiences and variety, less practical, you know. So a Taurus that let's say has their Venus in Gemini, you know, Taurus is supposed to, you know, mate for life. You know, they choose somebody and then they're married for 800 years. A Venus with their, a Taurus with their Venus in Gemini, it's not going to quite be that way. You know, Gemini likes a lot of variety and things like that. So, and a lot of change and different things. So they still will be a Taurus, but the way that they love and their relationships and things like that will have that Gemini influence. So they may be very practical and they may be very dependable in other areas of their life. You know, they may work at the same job, but, you know, in relationships, you know, they can't seem to, you know, stick with one person, and they like to you know, flit around and this and that. So that's a good example of how the Venus sign will affect the personality and the rest of the chart. So the next personal planet is Mars, and Mars is our physical energy, the way that our physical energy expresses itself. So it's our action, our forward movement, the way that we act on things. It's not how we feel, it's what we do. And very often it's our sexuality. Venus is also sexuality, but it's more love. Mars is more our sexuality, like the I don't want to say animalistic, but the innate sexual responses that we have, and very often it shows in a woman, very often in a woman's chart, who we're attracted to. And in a man's chart, I look more at Venus, but now we're getting into synastry and compatibility. But basically, Venus and Mars are the love and sex placements in the birth chart. So Mars is more, you know, sexual energy, and not just sexual energy, but just physical energy in general. Mars will express itself in, let's say you are a water sign, your sun is in water and your moon is in water, so that makes you very, you know, like sensitive and emotional and all of these things. And then you have Mars, your Mars sign in Leo. So that's a fire sign, and Mars is like your energy. So that's gonna give you a lot more force. You know, it's going to be less laid back and kind of gentle, and, you know, you still are going to be that because your sun and your moon is, but you're going to have a bit more oomph, you know. So your Mars sign, you're going to, Mars and Leo, they're going to be a bit more, you know, they're going to want to like scrap it out sometimes, or they're going to want to, you know, so that's going to give the action and the energy to which you act on, basically, is your Mars sign. So after Mars, we get into outer planets, which is going to be another a separate video, because I didn't want to give too much information. We're already at 19 minutes, but basically that's a quick overview of the birth chart, the sun, moon, Mercury, and Mars, and what they mean, and how an astrologer will interpret the different placements in a chart, and how they affect each other to form basically the personality, and also your rising sign, your ascendant, and how you look. And I think I'm going to do a video soon about the rising sign and ascendant, and whatever your rising sign is, you know, how are you supposed to look, because different signs do have different, you know, outer appearances a lot of the time. There's definitely patterns. I can a lot of the time see somebody and pretty much pinpoint, you know, what sign they are, or at least get their rising sign, because it's fairly accurate. So anyways, that's my birth chart and personal planets video. I hope you guys liked it. It's almost 20 minutes. I kind of babbled on, but that's okay. I hope you guys liked it. Like, share, comment, all of the rest of it, and I'll see you again soon.